Hello and welcome back to episode 20 of the Middle Ground Podcast and episode 8 of Fat Loss Foundations, where I am going through everything you need to know in order to sustainably change your physique for the better. So, this week we're going to be covering calorie tracking and, more importantly, how you can track without wanting to put your head through a fucking wall. Who should be tracking, who shouldn't be tracking, alternatives to your typical calorie tracking, weighing on a scale, etc., etc. And how to look out for obsessive kind of traits or approaches. You know, when you see things pop up that maybe aren't that healthy in regards to tracking, when to maybe take a step back. Okay? So first of all, what is tracking? What do I mean when I say calorie tracking? And very simply, what I'm talking about when I talk about calorie tracking is having an app on your phone that allows you to accurately track and record the calories that you eat on a day-to-day basis. Normally involves a food scale. So you put your food on the scale, you weigh it out, you put it in the app, it tells you how many calories it has, protein, carbs, fats, all of that good stuff. And then you eat it. So everything that passes your mouth, you are keeping an account of. And you generally have targets, so you have a total calorie target, you'll have a protein target, a carbohydrate, and a fat target, which matter much less when it comes to fat loss. Protein and calories are your two main things that matter and that you should be focusing on if you're tracking your calories. So that's what I mean when I say tracking. Now, what are the pros and the cons of tracking? I hear you asking. Oh my God, that was really loud. That was a kind of half-crushed Monster can re-expanding on my desk. That scared me. What are the pros, what are the cons of tracking? So, pros, we've got, it's the most accurate way to assess your intake. It's hard to mess up. If you're doing it right, if you're weighing your sources, if you're weighing oils, if you're weighing drinks, if you're measuring all of these things, you'll get the most accurate picture of what your day-to-day diet looks like, what your nutrition looks like, which is very important when it comes to understanding how you can lose fat and if you're hitting the right targets, the right inputs to lose fat and build muscle. So it's the most accurate way to assess your intake. Secondly, it's the most consistent over time. Rather than not tracking, eyeballing things, or going off of kind of instinct or impulse, you know, I'm hitting this many calories a day, this much protein a day. Doing that every day, you can expect results. You're analytical about things. You know what results to expect with the inputs that you're putting in. Simply enough, okay? And third, it's less guesswork, more data. Similar to the last point, there's no umming and ahhing about whether you're going to make progress. It's cut and dry. I hit these numbers, I will make progress, which is something that I really enjoy about it. The fact that I know what inputs I have to do to make progress is very soothing for my mind. There's no wondering whether what I'm doing is going to work. I know it's going to work because it's science. In terms of cons, here are a few that I hear thrown about, that some I agree with, some I don't. The main one being that it can be time consuming. Now, when you first start, it will be time consuming. It will be energy consuming. It is a new skill. It is a new habit that you're trying to ingrain. It's not going to be easy. There's going to be friction there. However, the more you do it, the better you get at it, the less time consuming it is and the less energy it requires. I would estimate that over the course of a day, if I'm tracking my calories very accurately, it might take 10 minutes out of my day. Maybe. Probably 5. Right? Now, the energy mismatch when you're first doing it is a lot. Those 10 minutes feel like an hour. But it's not that long. It really isn't that long. And it just gets quicker and less effort over time. So don't let that hold you back. Because you can save foods. You know what you're eating. It's a very repeatable process. It just gets easier. Secondly, most importantly, tracking can trigger disordered eating behaviors in people. Now, there's a bit of a correlation-causation thing here, where it's, does tracking your nutrition lead to eating disorders, or do people with disordered eating behaviors tend to track their calories more? So, you know, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Bit of a situation here, okay? But generally, I believe it's a bit of both. As with most things in these cases, it's a bit of both. If you already kind of tend or have repressed maybe eating disorder behavior, tracking your calories and being over obsessive about it isn't going to help. But for some people, it can be a tool. Again, me coming from a history of eating disorders, now tracking my food doesn't trigger anything. Tracking my weight doesn't trigger anything. I find it very simple to track my food on a day-to-day basis and not get emotionally attached to it. Use it as a data point. But for some people, this isn't as possible yet. And I put a big emphasis on yet, because it is possible for everyone, but it does take practice. So it's just something you've got to be a little bit aware of, a little bit careful of in terms of the cons of tracking nutrition. Now, who should track their food and who shouldn't? The people that should, in my opinion, if you're new to nutrition and you need to gain knowledge about it fast. So if you've lived 20, 30, 40 years of your life not really understanding nutrition that much, and now you have physique goals or performance goals, you need to gain knowledge about nutrition. The faster you do it, the better. Tracking your food on a day-to-day basis will give you that knowledge faster than anything. Faster than studying, faster than watching videos, because everything that passes your mouth, you're looking at, and you're looking at the nutritional content of it, and you begin to identify what fits where in your diet. What fits in as a protein, what fits in it as a carbohydrate, what fits in it as a fat, what's low calorie, what's higher calorie than you might have thought. With all my clients that I get to track calories for the first time, if they've never done it before, they are always amazed by one or two things with how high calorie there are. Peanut butter and mayonnaise. Those are the two main things that people message me and go, shit, I had no idea how many calories. People weigh out mayonnaise for the first time and they are mind-boggled that a tablespoon of it has 150 calories. They go, shit, that's a whole chocolate bar. I could have had a whole chocolate bar rather than that spoon of mayonnaise. It just leads people to making smarter choices, to understanding nutrition a little bit better. So if you're new to nutrition, it's a really great tool to learn about it fast. Secondly, if you have a healthy relationship or a healthy perspective on food, if it's not something that rules your life, you don't have a history of eating disorders, you don't have a history of disordered behavior around food, you have a very blank slate, tabula rasa, as the philosophers might call it. You are in a healthy mental space when it comes to nutrition, and you can see tracking your food as data points rather than good, bad, moral judgments, emotional reactions, this kind of stuff, okay? And last but not least, if you have specific fat loss or muscle gaining goals, I meant to say, tracking your calories is the most efficient way to understand how to get there. If your goal is fat loss, the one biological principle you need to understand and follow is a calorie deficit. The easiest way to understand if you are in a calorie deficit or not is to track the food that you eat. All of it. Anything that passes your lips. Because you get a direct measure of how many calories you're eating. And if you don't lose fat, then you know you're not in a deficit and you know those calories need to be lower or your output needs to be higher. It is a science. So if you have those goals, tracking your calories will be the easiest way to achieve them. The same with muscle growth. Maybe a bit less so, but you need to be at maintenance or in a small surplus. If you have an excess of body weight, you can be in a deficit. But if we're talking about specific muscle growth, maintenance, slight surplus, hit your fucking protein, mate. Hit your protein. What's the easiest way to know if you're hitting enough protein? Track it. There you go. Say it with me. Track it. Now, who shouldn't track their calories? Who shouldn't track their nutrition to that degree? People with disordered food behaviors. As I've said before, not a smart idea. Unless you're doing it probably under the watchful eye of a coach, or it's in the past and you've had a history of it, but you're overcoming it and you're going to try and do it from a healthy place. And that as soon as you notice those disordered behaviors creeping back in or ramping up, you stop it. Because it took me a long time to be able to do it. I didn't have an eating disorder, but as soon as I tracked my food, it might come back. Not the eating disorder, but the kind of thoughts that would go with it. And I'd notice getting overwhelmed. And I'd be like, oh, wow, cool, step back. Felt that creeping back in a little bit there. Felt the dark cloud coming over. Now, as I said before, not a problem. Not a problem for me. Secondly, if you're already overwhelmed with things to do, if you've started this journey and you're overwhelmed with training, getting your steps in, getting water in, getting enough sleep, and then you want to add tracking your food on top of it, I wouldn't recommend it. I wouldn't say to do everything at once. If you want to start by tracking your food, and that's the first thing you're doing, the first thing you're introducing, awesome. You go for it. And then you want to do that for a few weeks, then introduce training or getting your steps in or smashing your sleep. But if you introduce it all at once, it's all going to blow up. I talk about this a lot, not just in regards to tracking food, but generally just introducing a lot of new habits at once. Get one ingrained, then introduce the next, then introduce the next, then introduce the next. Don't try and do it all at once because it will absolutely melt your fucking brain. Now, for those that don't want to track in the traditional way that I've spoken about, so having an app, having a food scale, here are a few more flexible ways that you can track your food. Number one, tracking apps. Let me rephrase that because I didn't really know where I was going. Here are the flexible ways to track. I got my order wrong. These are the ways to track that involve tracking your food. And then I'm going to go into ways that aren't tracking. Okay. So here are the ways to track your food if you're interested in tracking your food. Sorry about that. Little mix up. Calorie tracking apps are the best. In my opinion, the single best calorie tracking app for free is Cronometer. It's the one that I use personally because I'm stingy. It gives you massive breakdowns of micronutrients. You don't have to pay for it. There is a pro version. I've never used it. Don't really know what it holds, but don't need it. I've done many successful fat loss phases with Cronometer. Not a problem. If you want to pay for something, Macro Factor is your best bet. It's about £10 a month. It has a algorithm that will alter the amount of calories and your macronutrient targets based on your rate of progress. So when you set it up, you'll type in all your metrics, your goal, and your time limit, your time frame, when you want to achieve these by, and it will give you these targets that will change based on how your weight is moving. Very useful, very awesome. Essentially works as a nutrition coach. It's an algorithm, but it does work the same way that a nutrition coach might, just to adjust your nutrition. Does it replace an actual coach? No, of course I'm going to say that because I'm a coach. But in terms of people that can't afford a coach but want accurate nutrition targets that change over time based on their rate of progress and based on their goals, Macro Factor, fucking awesome. I've used it as well. It is brilliant. Basically anything with a barcode scanner and an accurate food database. You can find it, any of them. There are so many. Just make sure that it's an accurate food database and that they have a barcode scanner because that ease of use is going to make things massive. Cronometer has all of that. Not sponsored. Wish I was. Find something that works. Find something that you enjoy and stick with it. Now, your non-tracking methods. So people that maybe don't have the best relationship with food and don't want to start looking at all these numbers and these metrics again. Okay? Meal templates. So if you're talking about making a meal, you have templates for each meal of a day. So your first one might be protein, carb, fat. Your second meal might be veg, protein, carb. Your third meal might be protein, veg, fat. Do you see what I mean? You've just got placeholder things. So you go portion of this, portion of that, portion of that. It might be 45 grams of this, 100 grams of this, 20 grams of this. Right? So you've got these templates that you basically fill in the blanks with. So it works similar to a meal plan, similar to tracking your calories, but it has a bit more freedom without necessarily having to track your food. You can maybe weigh it out and put it in, but it's less, intense. Secondly, hand tracking, something that I haven't used personally. I have had clients use, and I have a guide on it that I can actually leave in the description of this podcast. So if you're interested in hand tracking, I'll leave that there for you. But it looks a little bit like this. So you measure things based on your hands. So you have a thumb of fat, I believe. So in a meal, this is what a meal might look like. 1 to 2 palms of protein-dense food. 1 to 2 fists of a non-starchy vegetable. 1 to 2 cupped handfuls of carb-dense foods. And 1 to 2 thumbs of fat-dense food. So that might be a meal. And you can switch that up. And out throughout the course of a day, you'll be able to measure things out without looking at numbers and without tracking them. But it would be a similar thing to the meal template, where each meal will have a palm of this and a cupped hand of this and a thumb of this. It just helps you, again, track things without having to track things. And it's portable. Your hands are always with you, so you can use it anywhere. Lastly, meal plans. Very simply. A lot of people are against meal plans. I'm not. I do meal plans for myself. I have a few clients that are on meal plans. I don't have a problem with them as long as they're done correctly, as long as they don't have massive deficiencies and they're not biased towards the foods that a coach deems okay to eat. I tend to inject a little bit of flexibility into the meal plans that I do create because it's more useful that way. But the idea that giving someone a prescription on their nutrition based off of targets is a bad thing is mind-boggling to me. So they're good. They require you to not think. You can have multiple variations. You can have 3 days or 5 days, so each day is a little bit different. But it allows you to eat accurately without having to think or track because the tracking's done on the back end. If I set a meal plan for someone, obviously all their targets are hit in that. So if they eat those things, they will reach their goals. It's very simple. It just stops you having to track everything you eat differently every single day. You just follow the plan. Now, as I talked about, calorie tracking and an over-obsession on numbers, micronutrients, macronutrients, calories can lead to a little bit of obsession, a little bit of slightly disordered eating behaviors. But there are red flags that you can look to go, wow, I need to take a little step back here. So here are those red flags. If you become overly focused on food, so whether it's I can eat this and I can't eat this, or whether it's just you're thinking about food all the time. Again, if you've been in a deficit for 6 months and you're lean as shit, you're going to be thinking about food a lot. Maybe take a step back. But also, if you've just started to track food and now all of a sudden all you can think about is food and the calories in food, you're probably getting a little bit obsessive. Maybe take a step back. Secondly, trying to eat as little as possible rather than just trying to hit your target. So if you have a target at 1,800 calories and you think, well, if I can eat 1,200, I'm going to get to my goals quicker. No, not smart. The targets are there for a reason. If you hit those targets, you will make the progress you want in the time frame that you want to make it. Hit the targets. Don't undershoot on purpose. If you're a couple hundred under or 100 under here and there, don't stress about it. But if you're consciously going, well, let's eat as little as I can, not great. Red flag, step back. Third, when you cannot track, if you become stressed that you can't track and that it's something that creates anxiety when you can't use it, not good. It's a tool to be used to help you move towards your goals. If you're out for an afternoon and you can't track your food, or you go out for a meal with friends or family, don't worry about it. If it starts bringing up anxiety or stress, something's maybe going a little bit wrong there, maybe a little bit of obsession. Take a step back, relax. Maybe step away a little bit, okay? Fourth, you start avoiding certain foods or you start putting moral labels on foods. Don't do that. Don't do that. Not good. Not true. Okay? If you start avoiding foods because they have their carbs in, rather than just that's a calorie dense food, don't really want to eat that, doesn't really fit into my plan too much, that's fine. But if you start going, I can't have potatoes are bad, they have carbs in, If you start finding yourself restricting certain foods or putting moral labels on foods, not good. Take a step back. Relax yourself. Chill your mind, take a break, and then proceed forward again. Again, red flags will pop up. For most people, there's going to be one of those that pops up every now and then you go, okay, well, wasn't as comfortable as I thought it was, take a step back. Maybe I'm pushing it a little bit too hard. Maybe I'm a little bit too focused. You know, if you work with a coach, let them know these things, and then you can work out ways to proceed. As we said, there's loads of methods that don't involve strict calorie tracking. Are they as accurate? No. Will they still help you make progress? Yes. So, that is all. What I want you to do off the back of this, your action step for the week, is to choose one method of tracking, whether it's tracking your food with a scale and an app, or whether it's palm tracking, whether it's a meal plan, whether it's meal templates, whatever it is for you that you feel like you can stick to. Pick something, stick to it for 2 weeks, and hit your targets. See how it feels. Again, if you notice yourself becoming overly obsessed with tracking, take a step back, maybe use one of the other methods. If you use one of the other methods and you're enjoying it, keep it going. But there are many ways that you can track your nutrition, make progress, and not let it become a bad thing, an obsessive thing, or a negative thing. Think of it as data. That's the most important part here. Think of it simply as numbers and data that tell you if you are having the right inputs to achieve your goals and targets. Okay? Have a great week. Follow me, like, subscribe, comment, rate the podcast. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you for giving me your time. I really appreciate it. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will speak to you all in the next one, which will be episode 9 of Fat Loss Foundations. So we're getting towards the end there. Thank you very much. Have a great week, and I will speak to you in the next one.